The aggregate operation plan, the main purpose, specify the optimal combination of production rate completed per unit of time, workforce level, number of workers, inventory on hand, inventory carried from previous period. So let's see here how the production rate is important. For example, if you have got certain demand from the market and then we decide that how many product should be produced in a week, because we know the duration of production in a week, so that the total number of product which we have to produce will be divided by the duration, and then we will get the per hour production rate. If we know the per hour production rate, then it becomes easy for us to determine whether we will be able to satisfy the required demand of the market. Accordingly, because we know that how much production we have to do, we should also plan about the workforce level. How many workers are required for achieving the targets given by the sales team? We must look back and determine inventory on hand. We must look at the inventory already in the store, and whatever inventory we have already ordered should be added and decided that will it be sufficient to manufacture the target of this week. This is for short range. Then accordingly we will convert that into for month or months or then years. So that is basically, that gives us the clear cut idea if we have this plan with us. Product group of broad category. So after this we will add all the production of different product groups and different category. That is called aggregation. This planning is done over an intermediate range planning period of 3 to 18 months. Now you can see here the balancing aggregate demand and aggregate production capacity through the graph. The graph here you can see is the month wise. The graph is given for January, February, March, April, May, June, and the total production required in every month is also given. Suppose the figure to the right represents forecast demand in unit. This is the forecasted demand. So according to the forecasted demand, in the month of January we have to produce 4500 units, and in the month of February we'll be requiring 5500 units. Then in month of March the demand will be 7000 unit. In the month of April it is 10,000 unit. In the month of May 8,000 unit, and in June it will be 6,000 unit. Now suppose this lower figure represents the aggregate capacity of the company to meet demand. Here you can see in January we can produce 4500 units, that is the capacity of the company. In February, it is 4,000. It has reduced, the capacity has reduced due to some reason. And in the month of March, the demand is 9,000 units. And in April, it is 8,000 units. May, it is 4,000 unit. And June, it is 6,000 unit. So by looking at this graph, you can see that there is variation in the demand and the capacity of the plant in a particular month. What we want to do is balance out the production rate, workforce level, and inventory to make these figures match up. Now, our primary objective here is to match up these figures, because we have to meet the demand which is forecasted in according to month, and we have to produce accordingly to meet the market demand. Now, the planning required inputs to the production planning system. There are basically two broad categories which are required. One is external to the firm, another is internal to the firm. So, planning for production is the external capacity, competitors' behavior. We must also have idea about the competitors' behavior. Here, external capacity means the capacity of the market to produce a particular product. Competitors' behavior is also important. And then we must look at the raw material availability. Sometimes raw material is in abundance, then there is no need to know this. But at the other time, raw material availability, when it is in scarcity, then it becomes very tough for us to produce even when the capacity of the plant is up to the mark. Market demand, that is, we have already calculated, it is very important. If you want to plan for the production, we must have a very good analysis of all these areas. Economic conditions, that will always help us in knowing the purchasing capacity of the people, and accordingly we can judge whether the demand will go up or will remain same or will go down. Then comes the activities required for production. So friends, here you can see that all these 5 factors are external to the firm. You do not have any control over economic conditions. You cannot control the market demand. You have no control over the availability of raw materials. Behavior of the competitors is also cannot be checked, and same is the external capacity. So this is these are the inputs which are basically not in control of the firm. That is why we call them external to the firm. Internal to the firm are activities required for production. So how much workforce, what capacity of the plant, what kind of machines, how much space, and the other activities which are very important in production system. Then we must check at the inventory level. Inventory of the finished product should also be checked. Inventory of finished product, after that inventory of this raw material and semi-finished product must be checked properly. Current workforce, you know, and you must also calculate that how much workforce is required in future. Current physical capacity, which is already known to you, but if you have to adjust as per the requirement of the market, then you have to make arrangement accordingly. So these are basically the internal factors which are in control of the firm. Now let's talk about the key strategies for meeting demand. Chase, level, and stable workforce. These are three key strategies for meeting demand. In chase, we will always try to adjust our capacity according to the demand in the market. In level, we will keep our production at a particular level and then try to keep the inventory and use the inventory as and when required by the market. Stable workforce means we will keep the workforce stable and keep on producing, and we will have the inventory of finished product also, and when the demand fluctuates we will adjust accordingly. Now friends, aggregate planning, some examples we must take so that it will be clear to you how the unit demand and cost data is can be planned. Suppose we have the following unit demand and cost information. Demand according to month is given here, which was already given in the graph. In January, the forecasted demand is 4500, February 5500, March 7000, April 10,000, May 8,000, and June it is 6,000. And the cost information is given here. The cost of the material is $5 per unit. Holding cost is $1 per unit per month. Marginal cost of stock out $1.25 per unit per month. Hiring and training cost is $200 per worker. Layoff cost is $250 per worker. Labor hours required 0.15 hours per unit. Straight time labor cost $8 per hour. Beginning inventory 250 units. Productive hours worker per day is 7.25. Paid straight hours per day is 8. So now the two information are given to us, the forecasted demand and the cost information is with us. Now how should we plan it? Now here the productive hours per worker per day is 7.25 and paid straight hours per day is 8. That means 35 minutes will be the lunch time or something, in which there will not be any production, and workers are paid for 8 hours. and the information is already given here. Now the number of days in the month of January is given. There will be 22 working days in January, February 19, March 21, April 21, May 22, and June 20. Hours, so the total time available with us will be 7.25 into 22 for January. If we multiply this, it will be 159.5. So 7.25 into 22 is 159.5. Similarly, for the month of January, when we multiply the 19 into 7.25, we can calculate the total hours per worker per month. That is, or for month of February, 137.75. For March, it is 21 into 7.25, so 150.25. April 21 into again 7.25, so 152.25. So May 22 into 7.25, it is 159.5. And for June, 20 into 7.25 will give you the total time, that is equals to 145 hours per worker per month. Now units per worker, how many units per worker we will be requiring? Given the demand and cost information below, what are the aggregate hours, or that's what we are trying to calculate. And here 0.15 is the cost which is given here. 0.15 is labor hours required. So 0.15 hours per unit. For 1 unit, we will be requiring 0.15 hours. So here you can see, if 7.25 hours are available in a day, so how many products can be produced? That is equals to 48.33. In a day, a worker can produce 48.33 units, and in 22 days, a worker can produce 1063. So 48.33 into 22 is equals to 1063.33. So that will be the total units per worker. So a worker can produce 1063.33 unit in the month of January. Similarly, we can calculate by using the same formula. 48.33 into 19, that will give you 918.33, and 48.33 into 21, that will give you 1015, and so on. For the other months like April, May and June, you can calculate. Now you have to calculate the dollar per worker. Dollar per worker is basically, for 22 days you have to pay for 8 hours. So the total hours are 22 into 8, and the cost is $8. So it gives you $1408 for the month of January. So the total expense for the month of January for production of this quantity will be 1408. Similarly, we can calculate it for February, March and April. Now let's take the chase strategy. Hiring and firing to meet demand. The chase strategy says then whenever the demand is less, you should fire people, and when the demand is more, you can hire people. So for the month of January, there are 22 days. Per hours are 159.5, units per worker 1063, dollar per worker is 1408, and demand as given in the problem is 4500, and the beginning inventory is given to 50 units. Next requirement is 4250 because the demand is 4500, and to produce 4250 we will be requiring 3.997 workers. So we are supposed to fire 3, workforce is 4, ending inventory is 0. Because we have assumed there are 7 workers, so out of 7 we will be requiring only 4, then 3 will be fired. Here you can see the calculation of various numbers which are very easy. We can very easily calculate this number. 3.997 is 4 workers. So here by using the chase strategy, a manager has to fire 3 people, and with 4 people he can meet the demand. So with the workforce of 4 he can meet the demand. And now using the same strategy or chase strategy, the plan is given in this. Plan is given here. So chase strategy says that you have to fire 3 people in the month of January and hire 2 people in the month of February, 1 person in the month, 1 labor in the month of March, 3 in April. So in 3 months you are hiring people, and in 3 months you are firing people. So in the month of May you have to fire 2, and June you have to fire 1. Workforce is 4 in the month of January. Now you have hired 2, then it becomes 6. You have again hired 1 in the month of March, so it becomes 7. In the month of April, after hiring 3 more people, the workforce is 10. And in the month of May, you will fire 2 because the requirement is only of 8. And in the month of June, you will fire 1, and the total requirement will be 7. And ending inventory in the chase strategy is always 0. So you can see here the chase strategy explains that the ending inventory is 0. Now the second strategy, level workforce strategy. The same question we have taken, and in the month of January only 4250 you have to produce, and we have workers, 6 workers, production is 6380, ending inventory you can calculate like this. Now we have kept all time a 6 worker. This level strategy says that don't change the workforce. It is 6. You can see here in the slide. All the time, all 6 months we are having 6 workers with us. Now what will change? Demand will be same, beginning inventory is same, net requirement in the month of January is 4250, but our production capacity has gone up, so we will be producing 6380 unit with this workforce. Ending inventory is 2.130 and surplus is 2.13 or 2130, 2130. Ending inventory is also 2130. So now this ending inventory will be used in the next month. So you can see here the beginning inventory column of February. So the ending inventory of January will become the beginning inventory of February. So the total requirement, which was 5500, the demand, forecasted demand 5500, will become 3370, and 6 people will again produce 5510. Production will be done, and the inventory, ending inventory will be 2140, because the requirement was of 5500 units. So by using the same formula, you can see the shortage will be in the month of April, May and June. So here in this kind of strategy, we will always end up with some shortage or some extra inventory. So in the first 3 months, you know that there is a surplus, and in the last 3 months there is a shortage. So depending upon your understanding whether the shortage is bearable or the surplus is okay, we can think of changing the strategy. Note, if we recalculate this sheet with 7 workers, we would have a surplus, always surplus. So this is we have done. Now we have also calculated the other cost here in the month of January. Total cost under this strategy are less than chase. So sometimes chasing is not good. So you have to decide, a manager has to decide by making a proper cost sheet that which strategy should he follow so that he can achieve the targets.